Hello students, welcome back. I hope you must be enjoying my lectures. Now in this session we will be discussing the derivatives of antiderivatives, that is the Leibniz rule. In this we shall discuss that d by dx of integral gx to hx ft dt is equal to the value of the function at the upper limit into derivative of upper limit minus the value of the function at lower limit into derivative of lower limit. We shall discuss various questions based on the application of Leibniz rule, and then finally we will be switching to definite integral as limit of sum. So let's begin. Okay, so now we have derivatives of antiderivatives, that is the Leibniz rule. If f is continuous, then d by dx of integral gx to hx ft dt is equal to f of hx into h dash x minus f gx into g dash x. That basically is implying that the integral of a continuous function is always differentiable, right? Basically, if f is continuous, then we are saying the derivative of integral fx exists and it is given by this. So, how do we exactly differentiate the integral of this function provided f is continuous, right? So, it is basically saying that d by dx of integral, say I have the limits as gx and hx, and ft dt is equal to, first of all it will be equal to value of function at the upper limit, that is f at hx, right, f value of function at upper limit f at hx into derivative of upper limit minus f at lower limit into derivative of lower limit. So this is how we are going to use this rule. The example says if fx is integral e raised to 2x, limits are e raised to 2x to e raised to 3x, t by ln t dt, where x is positive, find the derivative of fx with respect to ln x when x is ln 2. Okay, so basically what we are given is fx is e raised to 2x to e raised to 3x t by ln t dt, where x is positive. First of all, how do I find out f dash x? Fx is given by integral e raised to 2x to e raised to 3x, this function. So f dash x would be equal to value of function at upper limit, that is e raised to 3x by ln of e raised to 3x into derivative of upper limit, that is 3 e raised to 3x minus value of function at lower limit, that is e raised to 2x by ln of e raised to 2x into derivative of lower limit. So this is what we have got. So this would be equal to, now ln e raised to 3x becomes 3x and 3 gets cancelled. So we have e raised to 6x by x minus e raised to 4x by x. Therefore, now f dash ln 2 would be equal to, so we have f dash ln 2, that would be equal to e raised to 6 ln 2 by ln 2 minus, we have this value, right? So this simply, you can just simplify this and we get it as 2 raised to 6 minus 2 raised to 4 using the properties of logarithm. This 6 ln 2 can be written as ln of 2 raised to 6, and so we have it as 2 raised to 6 minus 2 raised to 4 by this value, and this is ultimately, right. So this is how you are going to find out the derivative of such functions, and I suppose this must be clear by now. It's quite simple. Now we have definite integral as a limit of sum, and this is important as well as interesting, but the questions can be a bit lengthy, but don't worry at all. Let's discuss this. Say integral a to b fx dx is limit h tends to 0 and tends to infinity h fa plus f of a plus h plus f of a plus 2h, so on, f of a plus n minus 1 h. This basically means a plus n minus 1 h, right? This bar means this term is together, this is in fact in bracket, right? So we have a function, suppose y equal to fx, x is equal to a is this, then a plus h, a plus 2h, so on. This is x equal to b. These are the limits x equal to a to b. for the function fx, and this is a plus 8, a plus 2h, so on. So integral a to b can be written as limit h tends to 0, n tends to infinity, h times this term, or integral a to b fx dx is limit h tends to 0, n tends to infinity, h, this can be written as summation r going 0 to n minus 1 f of a plus rh, where b minus a is equal to nh. Now just see, b minus a is equal to nh, and if I take the limits a and b, we are taking b minus a is nh. Now just see, if first of all, important thing to note here is that evaluating a definite integral by evaluating the limit of a sum is called evaluating definite integral by first principle. If you are evaluating the value of a definite integral using this by limit of a sum, that you will be using the first principle, evaluating the definite integral by first principle, or it is also known as by ab initio method. Basically, you can also term it as fundamental theorem of integral calculus. This is fundamental theorem of integral calculus, right? Now just see here, we are saying, suppose I put a is 0, b is 1, then my nh becomes 1. From here a is 0, b is 1, so nh becomes 1, and therefore integral 0 to 1 fx dx is equal to 1 by n summation 0 to n minus 1 f of r by n. Basically in this, what we are doing is replace 1 by n by dx, summation by integral sign, and r by n by x. I am sure most of you would have got confused seeing this, but once we discuss an example, the things will be clearer. Now see, evaluate integral a to b cos x dx as the limit of a sum. So how do we do that? We have integral a to b cos x dx, this is a function that I am given. So I can write it as limit h tends to 0 summation r, as we just now discussed. So limit h tends to 0 summation r going 1 to n f of a plus rh, which will be equal to limit h tends to 0 summation r going 1 to n h times cos of a plus rh. This is limit h tends to 0 summation r going 1 to n h cos of a plus rh, right? Okay, so now what next? This can be written as limit h tends to 0, h, just open up this bracket summation sign. So basically what we get is cos of a plus h plus cos of a plus 2h plus so on cos of a plus nh, right? Now what we can do is let s is equal to cos of a plus h plus cos of a plus 2h plus so on cos of a plus nh. This whole term I am assuming to be s, and we will try to find out the value of s, and then we will substitute this in this equation, right? So this is what we have obtained. Now s is this. Now to solve s, what I do is multiply both sides by 2 sin h by 2. We will try to apply a trigonometric formula. For that I am multiplying both sides by 2 sin h by 2, right? So once I multiply both sides by 2 sin h by 2, what do I get? 2 sin h by 2 into s is equal to 2 sin h by 2 cos of a plus h. Then I have 2 sin h by 2 cos of a plus 2h, so on 2 sin h by 2 cos of a plus nh, right? Now why did I do so? So that I can now apply the trigonometric formula. we have 2 sin A cos B, that is equal to sin A plus B plus sin A minus B, and 2 sin A cos B is equal to sin of A plus B plus sin of A minus B. So I will be utilizing this formula, applying this formula here. So this becomes, this is 2 sin A cos B, so I have sin A plus B, that is A plus 3h by 2, and then I'll have plus sin A minus B, and sin A minus B becomes minus of A minus h by 2. I'll take the minus sign common, so I have A plus h by 2. Plus again I'll apply the same formula in each and every term, and I get 2 plus sin A plus 5h by 2 minus sin A plus 3h by 2 plus so on sin, last term would be A plus 2n plus 1 h by 2 minus sin A plus 2n minus 1 h by 2. Now this is sin A plus 3h by 2 and minus sin A plus 3h by 2, so on. So ultimately I'll be left with, this term gets cancelled with this. Similarly, now this term will get cancelled with the next terms and so on, and this term will also get cancelled. So we'll basically be left with sin of A plus 2n plus 1 h by 2 minus sin A plus h by 2. So basically I am left with this term, these two terms in fact, sin A plus 2n plus 1 h by 2 minus sin A plus h by 2, and this can be written as sin A plus nh plus h by 2 minus sin A plus h by 2. So I can write it as sin of B plus h by 2 minus sin A plus h by 2. Now finally we have found out the value of S. In fact this is what was on our left hand side, 2 sin h by 2 into S is equal to this. So this basically means, okay, let me first write, this was our S, we have to substitute in this equation, integral a to b cos x dx is limit h tends to 0 S, right? So now what I have is, okay, so integral a to b cos x dx was equal to limit h tends to 0 S, and my S now is sin of b plus h by 2 minus of sin a plus h by 2 by, I'll have 2 sin h by 2, right? And there was one h also here, right? So this is where we have reached. We had to find out the value of integral a to b cos x dx as limit of sum. Now we will try to just reduce these terms, and what I get is, finally I get it as sin b minus sin a. So this is how you are going to reduce your integral a to b cos x dx as limit of sum. So I suppose it was quite simple, but yes, it was a bit lengthy. So you'll have to practice a good number of questions just to develop a very good speed. That's it. Next question is, evaluate limit n tends to infinity r going 1 to n plus r by n raised to 1 by n. So okay, how do we evaluate this now? We have, again I am assuming this to be my S, limit n tends to infinity. First of all we do it like this, we assume it to be S, and this is n plus n r by n raised to 1 by n, right? So this can basically be written as limit n plus 1 by n, n plus 2 by n, so on n plus n by n, whole raised to the power 1 by n. This is what I have. Now taking log both sides, if I take log both sides, what I have is ln of s would be equal to, now limit n tends to infinity 1 by n, again using the properties of logarithm, I am taking log both sides, so this can be taken here. 1 by n, log can be taken inside, so ln of n plus 1 by n plus ln of n plus 2 by n plus so on. I'll have ln of n plus n by n. This is what I have. This can be written as limit n tends to infinity 1 by n summation r going 1 to n ln of 1 plus r by n, right? And this in fact can be written as 0 to 1 ln of 1 plus x dx. So this is quite simple. We have reached here integral 0 to 1 ln of 1 plus x dx. This is simple integration. You can assume you have to integrate this function, so I'll take 1 as my second function, this as my first function, integrate it, apply the limits 0 to 1 and you get your answer as ln 2 minus 1 minus ln 2. That becomes ln 2 minus 1 plus ln 2, and that basically yields so that will become 2 ln 2 minus 1, that becomes ln 4 minus ln e. I can write it like this, that becomes 4 by e, and so this implies my s is 4 by e because we have got ln s equal to ln of 4 by e, so s becomes 4 by e and my s was this term and therefore the required value is 4 by e. So see, expressing a term, evaluating term in terms of limit of sum is quite simple, but yes, you need a very good amount of practice. Well, I hope you must have understood the Leibniz rule as well as the application of Leibniz rule and definite integral as limit of sum. Now in the next session, we will be switching to various other important facts as well as properties of definite integral, and we shall also discuss the Wallis theorem, which is an extremely important theorem of definite integration. So stay tuned.